Welcome to Android Authority on Air, the original Android Hangout show on Google+. I'm Derek Ross.
And I'm Scott Anderson.
And this week we're joined by favorite special returning guest, Dan Charlton of Team Kernels. Welcome, Dan.
Nice to be here, thank you.
So, Scott, what do we got on the agenda this week?
Well, we're going to be talking about Verizon to start out. We're also going to be going over some device news, a little bit of rumors, and some updates, including HTC's new 5-inch phone. Also, we're going to be going over some ICS and Jelly Bean updates, over-the-air updates. We're also going to be doing some Rootin' and Ramen, CM9, CM10, and over-the-air updates. And then we're going to be going on talking about Samsung versus Apple, kind of in their patent war right now. Just give us more information about that. And then also we're going to be talking about Samsung's Cortex A15 and the Exynos 5 Dual. And then we are also going to be talking about a smartphone drag race that was on YouTube. And yeah.
I didn't even know smartphones could actually race, but apparently they can, right?
Yeah, they can. Oh, and I forgot, we're going to be talking about Jelly Bean app encryption that Google kind of put on hold due to some issues. But we'll go more into detail about that in a little bit.
All right, so a little bit of carrier news here. Verizon this week let the world know that they can continue to charge you money if you continue to use more data than their current plans. Basically, that's what it boils down to. You know, they have 5-tier data plans available for their share everything plan. You know, $50 for a gig, $60 for 2, and so forth, all the way up to $100 for 10 gig a month. Then they decide to let everybody know, oh wait, there's more. So for 12 gig, you can pay $110. For 14 gig, $120, 16 gig, $130, 18, $140. And last but not least, if you want to use 20 gig of mobile data a month, you're going to be paying out $150. So not a whole lot of news, but they're going to charge you for it anyway. So now they actually officially have these plans available for you with their shared everything plan. So it's not bad, I guess. 20 gig for $150 versus half that was costing you $100 for 10. So yeah, you're saving money the more data you use. That's good to know, and you know you're not getting nickel and dimed outside of that.
I personally think they should start off the tier with 50 for 2 gigs, and then 60 for 4, and then 70 for 6, 80 for.
Oh, since everybody's using data, obviously, I those of you that aren't grandfathered into.
No, but they're giving you unlimited calls and texts. You know, those things that you don't use anymore.
Oh, you mean the texts that we use over data apps? Right? Yeah.
You know what? That's the biggest thing about these shared data plans that I hate is that they bait you in by saying, look, you have unlimited calling and unlimited text. Well, you know what? I do 2 minutes of calling a day. And it's, hey, honey, I'm here at work. Hey, honey, I'm leaving work. I don't do any text messaging that often. If most people send me a GTalk message, which is data. Yeah. So, every once in a while I'll get a text message. Maybe I use
Google Voice for my texting, so it's all data.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, so, but you know what? They're going to give that to you for free and charge you because they want us to use data because they're making a killing off of data.
And it's going to be ever more so in the future. They realize that it's just data, and that's what's attacking their network. So they say. And that's what they're going to charge people for. So
yeah, I mean, they say that, but you also look at Verizon that is actively pushing people off of its own DSL services to try and replace their main internet service with LTE at these prices.
They can't do it at these prices. Now the speed is good, but the
speed's great, especially compared to DSL. But for your main household internet connection. 20 gigabytes a month for $150. Are you kidding?
What I think we're going to really see a big change and shift in paradigm here is in a year and a half when voice over LTE is more than norm, and you do away with your calling and texting plans. Everything goes over data. So you're giving you don't have 100 minutes a month or 200 minutes whatever. There's no more minute plans. It's here's this chunk of data, use it however the hell you want. You know,
I mean, you can already just about get away with that.
if you're using
There are plans offered to do it, but if you have a voice over IP system set up,
yeah, you could.
You can pretty much already do that. The problem isn't that you can't do voice over LTE. The problem is that you can't hand off voice over data on LTE to voice over CDMA.
You know, actually,
Running the voice over IP and just shuffling that across LTE network is not a challenge.
well, let's briefly talk about that. I didn't put it in the agenda because, as everybody knows, well, maybe not everybody knows. A lot of people know I was on vacation the past week, so I'm trying to piece together the show here, what's popular, what's not popular to talk about. One of the things I remember reading in the news earlier in the week was that Metro PCS is the first carrier in the U.S. to roll out voice over LTE. Now, I don't know where it's starting. I don't remember all the specifics from the article that I read, but it is coming. It is happening, and a tiny little carrier, like, you know, compared to the big guys, you know, is starting it. They're the first to do it. So, I mean, the industry's going that way, and we're starting to see it already. So, let's talk about another carrier here real quick in the U.S. Sprint is doing something neat. They're giving away a free tablet if you buy a new smartphone. And they're giving away the ZTE Optic, which is a 3G tablet, 7-inch screen. It has a 1280 by 800 display, 1.2 gigahertz, dual-core processor. I believe the processor it's a S3, so it's a little older. It's not a newer S4 processor. It has a gig of RAM, 16 gig storage, 5 megapixel rear camera, 2 megapixel front camera, and it comes with Android Honeycomb. So, you know, it's not the greatest tablet on the planet, but it's a free tablet. So,
what select phones do? Is this if you buy any smartphone? Is it if you buy it with a contract plan of 3 years and not 2?
No, it's a new smartphone purchase. I'm not 100% sure on the contract.
Okay.
I would assume you'd have to have a contract.
Yeah. I wonder how much, if you were to buy this tablet off contract, how much do you think it would cost?
Probably not a whole lot.
Like $2, $3?
Probably $200 or $300. Yeah. I mean, it's ZTE, which I don't mean as a negative. I just mean they make very inexpensive products.
Yeah. But I mean, this is kind of nice. I mean,
initially Sprint was offering it for $100 with a 2-year contract.
Okay.
So, I mean, that was with the 2-year contract, so you got to add in all the.
Oh yeah, there's probably the you have to pick up the contract on the tablet for if you're getting it for free.
Yeah, because remember, this is a 3G tablet. They want you to use data. They want you to pay a monthly fee on it. So
yeah, so it's not quite free.
Yeah, I mean, it's
you're
free
signing
hardware.
your life away.
Yeah, it's free hardware, and we're going to make you pay the monthly fee on it. So, but the tablet, it's 6 months old. So I mean, it's a free tablet. You know,
it's 6 months old.
Yeah,
That's pretty old.
It came out in February.
I find it even less impressive thinking about where it should have been 6 months ago.
I'll tell you what. If you don't want a free tablet, don't get a new smartphone, and don't tell them.
Well,
hey,
no, get a new smartphone. Just don't take the tablet.
You know, or if you want it. You know, I mean, so it has honeycomb on it. That's old, right? You know, ICS has been out for 9 months now. Jelly Bean's been out for a month. But don't worry, the developers have your back. You can get CM9 on it or CM10, both about everything working except for camera and Bluetooth. So you know, I'm sure those will get worked out in the near future. But there is a dev community for it. It's not a huge dev community, but there is one for it. So
I'd get it and I'd cancel the data right away.
Probably an ETF for that.
Pay the early termination fee, right?
Well,
it might be worth it. $50 for the tablet, though.
So you know, to pay $175, $200 termination fee. So now you're getting a tablet for $200. If you're gonna spend $200, I know a perfect tablet that you can get for $200.
Oh, which is that? Which one's that?
That is if you can find it.
It's that.
Yeah, mine said 3 to 5. Mine said 3 to 5 shipping days, and it has been not this last Thursday, but a week before that Thursday I ordered it.
So this guy right here, right?
Oh, is that the one?
Yeah, there you go. The next.
Maybe you meant that one here.
Oh, that's the one too.
You know what? Scott, next hangout, next show, if you're not holding up an Nexus 7 here, there's going to be hell to pay, all right?
Well, it'll be on Google's fault because they told me 3 to 5 days.
All right. All right, and speaking of Nexus, we're just going to do off on a quick little tangent here. Those of you that have been following us for a while might know that Scott does not root and ROM his devices. However, pre-show, during a brief chat about rooting and ROMing, Scott said he might dive into the Nexus 7 rooting and ROMing it. He might run his first ever custom ROM on his first ever Android device, starting with the Nexus 7. I don't know why you would do that on a Nexus 7, because I personally don't feel you need to do it, but hey.
If it'll get me into rooting and ROMing and not having to deal with carrier stuff, then yeah.
All right. So speaking of devices, since we're talking about some devices, let's talk about a couple devices here that hit the market or rumored, or some information popped out about them in the past week. The HTC Endeavor C2, also known as HTC's rumored 5-inch phone / tablet, whatever people are calling them these days. So apparently, I'm guessing the Endeavor C2 is more of an internal code name. I think that'll be changed most likely when it gets released. But the current rumors put it at 5-inch display, a 1.7 gigahertz quad core Tegra 3 Plus. That's pretty beefy, 1.7 gigahertz, especially because I don't know of any devices out there that have that. And an October 1st rumored launch date. So we'll follow that over the next 2 months here and see what happens, see if it actually comes to fruition. The Sony Xperia GX got unboxed in Japan. It's on Japan's NTT Docomo carrier for $960 about US dollars.
That's not on contract.
That's an expensive. That's a $1,000 phone.
That's crazy.
So for your $1,000 phone, what do you get? You get Android 4.04.
No Jelly Bean.
And you know what?
Not even Jelly Bean. For $1,000,
$1,000, you back at the latest and greatest. You get last year's stuff.
Yeah, but you know what? Sony's been submitting the code to Android's open source project.
Yeah, hasn't really helped them on the upgrading thing, has it?
They'll be updating it soon. They have to. So it has a 4.55 inch HD display, a gig of RAM, 16 gig onboard storage, micro SD slot, 13 megapixel rear camera, and a 1.3 front shooter. So not too out of the ordinary there, but for $1,000, that's a new flagship phone. I would have expected a little bit more than that, but that's not bad. The camera
good things. It does have MHL and it does have NFC. So they're
NFC. There you go. And the battery.
It's definitely a top-end phone. That does seem a little pricey though.
Yeah, exactly.
Like an unlocked Samsung Galaxy S3, the international one, goes for, I want to say, around $650 or $700.
So
yeah, I wonder why it's so much.
Yeah, I don't know. That seems very high for an unlocked phone.
Yeah, it is.
I'm assuming that's the unlocked price. I really hope that's not the on-contract price.
We have the phone. It's $2.5 grand on contract.
Yeah. All right. So next device to give us some info this past week is the HTC One X is getting 4.04 since 4.1 started rolling out in the EU. It improves system performance, better cameras, smoother animation, and it comes with a free copy of Dead Space. So there you go, more free bloatware, not bad. The coolest thing, in my opinion, about this is the menu bar that was plaguing Sense 4 has been resolved. So no longer are Sense 4 users going to have the phantom menu button showing up on the bottom for certain apps that shouldn't be there in the first place. So that's very good. So those of you that own the HTC One X, you can look forward to getting that in the near future if you don't have it already, and your menu bar will be fixed.
The solution is still not the most elegant, but realistically, the problem. I mean, HTC is kind of getting pummeled for it, but it's really not their fault. The problem is people like the Facebook and Twitter app developers not bothering to follow guidelines on how they're supposed to be building apps for Ice Cream Sandwich and Jelly Bean.
Yeah. Yeah, but you know what?
And then whose fault is that?
Has that issue too, and it's a.
I would have to say it's on those companies. Who puts out the guidelines? They make it very clear. They have like weekly on their developer blogs, like weekly videos and like office hours.
But do they enforce it to the?
They make themselves pretty available.
Yeah, but they might need to do more enforcing in order to actually get them to do it. I don't know.
All right. So the Samsung Galaxy S3 is a hit in blue and in white. There's a possible leak, possible rumor that a black version is coming. So if you didn't like the white one, didn't like the blue one, or didn't get it yet, soon you might be able to get a black.
There's a red one too.
There is a. You are right. There is a red one.
There's a red one only for AT&T.
Yep.
Which it looks really nice. I like the red one. My friend is going to get the red one.
Well, that's good, Scott. That's good. I'm happy for your friend. I am.
He had a 1X, but then he decided that it was
sold out.
What?
Nothing. I didn't say anything.
All right. So the international Galaxy S3. Speaking of the Galaxy S3, is getting an over-the-air update. It is not Jelly Bean, so
shocking.
Get your torches and pitchforks ready. But it does include a new radio baseband that supposedly fixes a battery drain issue. So congrats on better battery life. Those of you that own the international SGS3. The Photon Q is a rumor. It's coming out on the 19th here in a few more days. The Atrix HD LTE was supposed to launch a little over a week ago on the 2nd. Bell says that it's coming on the 14th. So
I think that phone is an epic fail.
It should be here in another 2 days. We'll see. You think the Atrix HD is going to be an epic fail?
Yeah, there's some interesting software stuff by Motorola though. But as a phone, eh.
Yeah.
But some interesting things with widgets.
Also, what is with manufacturers' needs to continue cramming more acronyms at the end of their device name?
You know what? I love him.
4D HT.
All right, so let's talk about the Transformer Pad TF300T LTE.
Yeah, like this is getting out of hand.
Right. So so you did. I wasn't making fun. The Pad 300 is getting an LTE variant. We weren't just laughing at it. It is getting a LTE variant, and it's going to start in August sometime this month in Germany and Austria. So
that'll be good.
That'll be nice.
Yeah.
And OUYA, the popular, yet to be popular, but I guess it's popular already, right?
Well, I mean, they raised $8.6 million. That's popular.
OUYA's Kickstarter program officially ended this week, so if you didn't get in on the pre-order through Kickstarter, you still can. I guess it's going to cost you an extra $10, but hey, it's the $110 gaming system. And you know what?
It will materialize in like 9 months.
Yeah, so you're going to have to wait till you have to wait 7 months, I believe, before you get it. So that's a long ways away. But you know what? There's 63,000 people that backed it on Kickstarter, and you got to remember, the average person on the street that plays games has no clue what the hell Kickstarter is. You know what? Kickstarter is for people that are pretty much if you're watching this right now or listening to this right now, there's a chance that you might know what Kickstarter is or have heard it before. But outside of that, your husbands, your wives, your grandmothers, your grandfathers, aunts, and uncles, there's a chance that they have no idea what Kickstarter is. So to get 63,000 orders already, that's pretty amazing, I think. And they only wanted to raise, what, $950,000?
Which I don't know what they could have done with that amount of money. I mean, if they truly wanted to make this thing, widely available.
That's what maybe the production run was, it's going to cost XYZ for a production run, and these are your costs and so forth, the production and manufacturing costs. So this is the amount of money they wanted. And then
I just think that they had smaller numbers in sight and not the type of reaction that they got.
Well, yeah, they got $8.6 million. That's insane. But anyways, if you you can still check out OUYA and get it for $109. You can still pre-order it, and then you'll get it in 7 months or so. But there's a lot of things happening with it.
That's ridiculous.
Oh yeah.
But
I mean, how is this device not going to be woefully outdated by the time it finally comes out?
You know, I'm honestly hoping that over the next month or two, as they're getting the, I will say, kinks worked out of the system. Who knows? They're going to realize that we need to do a processor upgrade or upgrade memory or do something and throw something at it, because by the time this thing comes out, as you said, I mean, 7 months is a long time in the tech world. A long time. So it's going to be outdated when it comes out. So I hope they use the extra funds that they generated that allows them to lower manufacturing costs by doing more bulk orders, and allows them to upgrade the hardware a little bit. That would be very nice.
Or make the hardware easily upgradable. That could be also an interesting. It would be harder.
They're going to replace an ARM CPU.
Yeah,
they could maybe.
It's never going to be like dropping another.
So maybe they'll send out.
It'd be cool.
They'll send out a soldering kit in the mail, Dan.
Yeah, there you go.
That's not going to work.
Yeah.
So let's talk about some ICS and Jelly Bean updates, official updates. So HTC Thunderbolt and Desire S owners, you were not forgotten.
Dude, the Thunderbolt, they've been talking about this for years.
Since roughly November of last year.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so they've been talking about it for a while. But,
oh, wait, that's right when ICS came out. Crap.
Yeah, but HTC said on Facebook it's coming soon, so they haven't forgotten about it. It may happen. I mean, August is a long month.
Soon in HTC's terms is a very relative time frame. Which, like, their kernel source comes out soon after device release, by which I mean several months down the road when they get yelled at enough to finally bother releasing it.
I gotta learn to remember to let you finish your rant before I start talking about something. I need to wait. I said, wait a second. He has something hateful he wants to say about this. Spiteful. All right, so the Motorola Razr is getting ICS in the UK and Nordic countries. You may have already have it if you're in those parts of Europe. So if you don't have it, start spamming your update button now, Dan.
Wait. The dumb phone Razr? Are we talking about that old school flip phone, or are we talking about...
No, we gotta be talking about the new one. Although, if the old school flip phone is getting ICS, that'd be pretty impressive.
That would be awesome.
My Razr from 6 years ago is getting ICS.
That'd be so cool.
Slap in the face to all of the Thunderbolts of the world that still don't have ICS.
My flip phone got ICS before yours.
Before we move on to the next one, do you have anything mean to say about this?
Oh, see, now you just open it up to him. Now he's just kind of scared.
All right, so Vodafone in Australia kept with their plans, and Jelly Bean started rolling out this week to the Nexus S. Once again, if you don't have Jelly Bean on your Nexus S and Vodafone is your provider, start spamming that system update button and enjoy Jelly Bean. Dan? Okay, all right. All right, so let's talk a little bit about rootin' and ramen, as we mentioned earlier. A new app came out this week, an over-the-air update center that allows any developer, any ROM developer, to use it to update their apps. The app will add and remove over-the-air updates. It's from a centralized database. It'll check for updates on device boot. It'll manually install an app. It'll manually install a ROM if you manually check for it. It'll download the ROM and flash it directly, or you can manually do all that, and you can tell it to wipe data, you can tell it to wipe cache, download before flashing, yada yada yada. Also known as the same things that Goo Manager and ROM Manager can do. I personally don't understand all the rage that is going on, how this is amazing that this is out there, because this functionality already exists in Goo Manager and ROM Manager, but it's good to have another provider, another developer doing this. It just means it's good for the community. Somebody might come out with a feature that somebody else doesn't have, and it's good for open source. It's good for the community. So it's nice to have another choice out there. Since you don't do any rooting, I can't ask you this question, but Dan, did you run Goo Manager or Raw Manager and get updates that way in the past?
I have gotten the updates, but I usually just find them annoying because if I'm looking to update my ROM, I'm going to go and I'm going to do that. I don't want something popping up every 5 minutes to tell me that I need to do this.
Yeah, I understand. And I remember back on when you and I were big into MIUI, we had a system update that didn't need, Goo Manager and or ROM Manager to tell us an update. It was using MIUI's own system update, and it went out to MIUI.us and told us there was an update, and it downloaded it and flashed it and did it all. And so this type of technology has been around for a while. It's nothing groundbreaking, but it's nice to have another option out there. And it's nice to have it easy for those people that just want to run a custom ROM and aren't all about going in and where do I go to get an update and so forth. It'll take care of it for you. So it's nice that those apps exist. So another big thing that hit the rooting and ROMing scene this week while I was laying on the beach was CM9 hit stable. So CM9 now is available for over 50 devices, phones and tablets, and a lot of people are saying, so why release a stable version of CM9 when CM10 has been, preview released, alpha released, whatever, for tons and tons of devices? Development for CM10 is heavily underway. Why still release a stable CM9? Well, that's to complete their goal. These guys do this for free. They do this because they love to do it. So it's nice to have goals, and it's nice to say you completed a goal. But besides personal gratification, think about all the phones that are going to run a buggy version of CM10 Jelly Bean for a while. Some devices are easier to port to Jelly Bean than others. So it's nice to have a stable ROM to fall back on if you can't run a buggy version of Jelly Bean on your, Note, your Galaxy Note, or if it's even available for that, just as an example. Maybe something doesn't work just right, and maybe Bluetooth doesn't work or something, and you need Bluetooth. So now you have a stable build to fall back on. So it's nice. I'm glad that CM completed their goal. It shows that they're goal-minded, which is good. They didn't just give up. They move on to bigger and better things. So speaking of CM10 and Jelly Bean, I never owned an HTC Dream or the HTC G1, depending on what you want to call it. The G1 was the first commercially available Android phone that came out in 2008, and it's nice to know, or neat to know, that it is running Jelly Bean right now. There's a small development community around it still, and one of the developers was able to get CM10 running on it. Now that doesn't mean it's ready for a daily driver. That doesn't mean that it's not laggy. It doesn't mean it's not slow. But as a concept, CM10 Jelly Bean is running on a 4-year-old phone right now. So that's cool. So if you have your old tank, the thing that just won't die, your original Android phone, just for laughs, you can go ahead and put CM10 on it and let me know what you think. And last but not least, for rooting and ROMing, let's talk about Google Now for ICS. Google Now is available for every ICS AOSP built ROM. All you need to do is install a couple APKs, flash a zip file, and you're good to go. Now, Google Now was available for a while, but voice wasn't working. Well, now voice is fully working. It's not using, obviously, it's not using the Jelly Bean speech engine because you're on ICS, But Google Now is working with cards showing up, and from inside Google Now, you can hit the microphone button and do a voice search, and it'll use the ICS speech-to-text engine to transcribe what you're saying and talk back to you the results. So it is full Google Now plus search, voice search, and voice-to-text.
So this is using the same engine as the ICS version, so you don't get the offline support, correct?
Oh, yeah, correct.
The Flashables that I saw had the offline database built into it, or your option of.
Okay.
Oh, really? I did not know that.
Because that would be something that, you know, a feature that would be worth noting if you did have the offline capabilities.
No, I saw they had a couple of different sort of developmental versions, and each one was released as a with offline support or without offline support.
There are 6 different versions, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So some of them, you know, have nearly everything working, but one thing is buggy and everything else works. Then the next guy has that bug fixed, but
some other thing got broken in the process.
Yeah. For example, you might have 2 cards show up for weather instead of 1. You know, but the latest APK that I was reading about just before the show has nearly everything fixed. There isn't dual cards, voice text to text works, notifications work. So it looks like they might have just got everything figured out and everything fixed. But it is fully working if you're running an AOSP ROM. So if you're running CM9, feel free to flash it, and you'll have Google Now and voice search capability like those of us with Jelly Bean have.
Cool.
Moving on, Scott, you had mentioned earlier that Google was forced to temporarily disable the new Jelly Bean feature for copyright protection on Android apps.
Also known as DRM.
Also known as
Yes.
Well, I mean, it's anti-piracy. You know, the new security feature was to make it harder to pirate apps.
Which is good. I'm all for that. I really am.
Yeah, well, it had to be disabled because some purchase apps, not all, some, like some live wallpapers and some older apps weren't working correctly anymore. And the reasoning for that is paid apps aren't installed in the standard app partition. You know,
they are currently
slash
under
data
the
slash
new
app.
system. They are not.
Yes, yeah, on the new system. Yeah, they're not installed in slash data slash app. They were installed into a encrypted directory, which is located slash mount slash asec.
In the new way.
In the new way, yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, so the old way is slash data slash app for paid apps, and the new way is slash mount slash asec for paid apps. So apps were designed to go into a certain partition, certain directory, and they were causing problems. Not all apps were able to run from that location without causing issues. What was happening is basically they couldn't find their data, so a user would reboot their phone and they'd lose all their settings. They have to go back in and reconfigure the app because they didn't know where their data was.
So like a paid launcher, for example.
Yeah.
Every time you reboot your phone, it's just like you downloaded it again.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it wasn't widespread. Not all apps had that issue, but
well, no, because the problem isn't really so much that Google did something wrong as it is that the app developers aren't following Google's directions, which is kind of Google's fault because this is a pretty significant change, and there are a lot of paid apps out there, so you can't really just kind of make that drastic of a change without
and there's a lot of
building in some sort of workaround for that.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of apps that are old that have been there for a very long time that might not get updated. But anyways, it's good to know that a bug report was filed with Google. They're aware of it, and they temporarily disabled the copy protection for apps.
I wonder when they're going to bring it back on.
Once they figure out a workaround.
Yeah, and I wonder how long that's going to be.
Oh, yeah, I don't know.
I guess part of the problem was the way that the partition was mounted and dismounted upon starting up and shut down. So maybe moving it higher up or lower up.
The problem is that they don't have the secure cache for it.
Okay.
Right, like they write the things just into this sort of generic cache, which gets flushed on a device reboot, because that's the more secure thing to do, but they can't then dump that to slash data because they aren't allowed to write to slash data because that's not where they're installed.
Yeah.
They need to basically add a secure and reboot surviving cache for that.
All right, so let's talk about some patent wars over the past week. One of the neatest things, in my opinion, that is Android related, besides just general litigation fighting, that we were able to find out is we got to see actual Samsung and iPhone sales numbers, which you find out that obviously Apple sells a lot of devices and Samsung sells a lot of devices. We don't need to talk about those numbers right now, but they sell a lot. And they make a lot of money on them. But one of the neat things that we learned was 2 years ago, back in 2010, Apple offered Samsung $30 per phone and $40 per tablet as for royalty fees for licensing, and that's pretty expensive when you look at a phone that might cost an unsubsidized phone maybe costing $400 or something. They wanted $30 per phone. That's crazy. So obviously Samsung said no, and that's why they're in litigation right now. But
well, they're also already paying, nobody's really sure, probably somewhere between $5 and $25 per phone to Microsoft.
Yeah, which Microsoft hasn't been able to fully come out and say which patents Android is violating, but they believe it's violating some. So
well, I mean that's the thing with patents, is that you don't actually have to be violating them. You just have to sort of have the clout to get people to sign an agreement thinking that you do have it.
That is, yeah.
Anything else about patent wars come out that sparked any interest this week?
No, it's been.
If you guys haven't been following,
week,
if you guys haven't been following it, it's actually pretty interesting, the back and the forth and how they deal with it and what they're using to either prove or disprove some of the accusations is rather interesting. I've been following it, so it's been a good read, and hopefully Android comes out on top. Or
not so much
it's really not an Android issue.
No, Samsung.
It's definitely getting portrayed as that, but
it's not.
The issues that are at play here just aren't sweeping Android problems. It's display stuff and it's all about Samsung in particular's design choices, and whether or not their designs are too similar to Apple's designs. It's not that Android looks too much like Apple, it's that Samsung's version of Android looks too much like Apple.
Yep.
So
before we move on to the drag race here, let's do a quick skim over, see if we have any questions here. So apparently Motorola is saying the Bionic is getting ICS in early Q3. Well, yeah. Oh, not too many carriers, especially Motorola's or manufacturers, are ever accurate with when devices are getting updates. So Lee, if you have a Bionic, I wouldn't hold my breath if I were you.
Yeah, take everything that they say with a grain of salt.
So let's talk about a drag race. So, we've seen, Samsung Galaxy S3 versus the iPhone 4S being used as hammers, being used as all sorts of, been thrown downstairs, been dropped from a few feet, see which ones bounce, which ones break, and everything. So we've seen all sorts of drop tests and break tests. And it comes out that the Galaxy S3, with its Gorilla Glass, is extremely durable. It just, it holds up, it wins all
sure.
these tests.
Plastic's pretty hard to break.
Oh, yeah. So, I guess the next logical
stop you dead there.
I guess that I didn't even want to comment. I'm not commenting on it. I don't know what to say. So the next logical step is to pull the phone behind a car. I guess. You know, I mean,
that's my next logical step.
Right. What other possible direction could go?
I mean, yeah. So if you're coming up with creative ideas, if you have $1,500 to blow and you want to break two phones, the next logical step is to pull it behind a vehicle.
No, break one phone.
Maybe convince somebody to give you the phones for free.
Yeah, or convince, say, hey, I need to make a viral video.
Yeah.
Why don't we do that? Actually, Android Authority did do that with the drop test as well, the first one. Anyways, so what somebody did is they placed the phones face down on the road, and the guy hopped in the trunk. He had the phones attached via a string, and the phones were taped with Gorilla Tape to the back of the phone, so they were laying face down.
I thought he was going to fall out.
And he hopped in the car, and his buddy drove off. And you see the phones bouncing back and forth, skimming across, and then the terrain changes a little bit. It's not smooth, and the phones are bouncing like a skipping rock everywhere. And you know what? The Galaxy S3 was completely usable and worked fine. It had a couple scratches and chips around the edges, but the glass was perfectly fine. I mean, it was nuts. I couldn't believe it.
Now, he didn't try turning them on, which would have proved a lot, but...
He didn't turn it on, you're right.
Minor detail.
It would have proved a decent amount more. Would have been nice.
Okay, so it was a glass test, maybe not a phone functioning test.
Yeah, I've seen people using iPhones with shattered screens, so just because your screen is shattered doesn't mean you can't use it.
Yeah, but the iPhone was completely shattered. It lost the glass test. I wasn't surprised after seeing previous tests.
Well, doesn't the iPhone have Gorilla Glass?
No.
They don't have Gorilla Glass, but they have...
I thought the front was Gorilla Glass and the back was not.
No.
Scott's saying no.
I'm pretty sure it's not.
I also thought that the SGS2 has the Gorilla Glass 2, though.
Yeah, there's two... How many versions of Gorilla Glass are there?
There are two.
Two.
The Samsung has version 2. I thought the iPhone 4S had the old version, the version 1 on the front, and then just regular tempered glass on the back.
Well, if it had the version 1 on the front, then the version 1 wasn't that good.
The SGS3 does have
better
Gorilla
than
Glass
regular
2.
glass.
No, agreed. But I'm just... I don't know.
Well, I don't know about the iPhone, but the...
I mean, I've seen a lot of shattered iPhones.
does have Gorilla Glass 2. Alright, let's see if we have any questions here before we wrap up early this week. Ben Begley, I believe the app encryption problem is that the ASEC partition is mounted after data. Okay, it makes sense. As we were saying, it was during the boot process and shutdown process, how it was mounted and dismounted. He says so that the system sees the app data first and doesn't see the related app installed. So it thinks it's safe to delete the data. ASEC is then mounted and says, hey, where the hell's my data at? And Android says, oh, you weren't there a minute ago, bro, so we deleted you. Okay, I got you. All right, thanks, Ben. It's appreciated. Okay. There isn't any other questions here. Feel free to let us know if you have any topics you want us to talk about, and we'll try to get it in on an upcoming show. If you have any questions, you can always comment on this post. You can comment on the various places that we post the podcasts and videos online. You can post and comment on Google+, as well as our YouTube channel when this video is posted. On SoundCloud, you can comment there. We check that. On Podbean, on iTunes, it's also there, but you won't be able to post comments on there. All right. Well, thank you guys. It was fun playing catch up this past week since I was out. It was interesting to see all the Android news unfold from my Nexus 7 throughout the week. I'll tell you what.
On the beach.
On the beach, yeah. I'll tell you what. I was using my Nexus 7 as my main computer for 8 days. I didn't have it on vacation. I mean, sorry, I didn't obviously have a laptop or a desktop on vacation. I had my Galaxy Nexus and my Nexus 7. So I used that thing every morning when I woke up to check up on Android news and its regular world news, and maybe sometime in the afternoon, taking a break or something while eating lunch or something, and then usually then in the evenings after the kids went to bed and we wanted to wind down a little bit, laid there in bed or sat outside in the patio and used Google Currents and maybe played a little bit of Dead Trigger. But my point being is I used the heck out of my Nexus 7. I didn't use it that way in the past. Maybe I used it an hour in the evening here and there, or a little bit over lunch break at work, or messing around doing this or that. But I used it as a computer replacement for a week, and I got to say I really enjoyed using it. I loved it. I'm happy I had it. I would have hated to do all that on I wouldn't have brought my laptop to do that. I'll tell you that right now. I would have hated to do it on my Galaxy Nexus. So,
only you had been camping, you could have been your own little Nexus 7 commercial.
You know what?
You should have shown your kids some dinosaurs and stuff.
What I should have done is whenever my son was burying me in the sand, I should have had my wife pull out the Galaxy Nexus and had my son hold the Nexus 7 over by me sitting there using it or something buried in the sand, and made my own little video and submitted it. Next vacation. All right, honey, we're going on vacation again. We're going to make a video. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening, and have a great week. We'll see you here in a few days.
See you later.